The Clothesline Project is a way for us to air some of society's dirty laundry. Increasing numbers of communities across the country are using these clotheslines as a way to publicly address physical abuse, rape, and molestation. Each shirt represents a different type of violence. Red, orange, and pink represent rape. Black represents gang rape. Purple represents someone who was raped because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. Green represents victims of childhood sexual assault. White shirts are for people who didn't survive. These shirts are made by friends or family. Yellow and brown shirts represent domestic violence. Navy blue shirts represent ritual abuse. For far too long, it has been the victims that carry the guilt for these abuses. Domestic violence is one of the most chronically underreported crimes. Perhaps that's because there's so much stigma attached to this kind of violence. The damage is deep and often lifelong. The statistics are alarming. Somewhere in America, a woman is raped every 2 minutes. 1 out of 3 women will be raped or assaulted in their lifetime. 77% of rapes are committed by someone known to the rape victim. 75% of rape victims require medical attention after the attack. 77% of abusers are male. 30 to 60% of perpetrators of intimate partner violence also abuse children in the household. More than 2 million cases of child abuse and neglect are reported each year in the United States. Witnessing violence between one's parents or caretakers is the strongest risk factor for transmitting violent behavior from one generation to the next. Boys who witness domestic violence are twice as likely to abuse their own partners and children when they become adults. So the question becomes, how can we have anything that even resembles a healthy society with numbers like this? The simple answer is, we can't. Humboldt County has been taking steps to give victims the support they need. The process of reporting crimes has traditionally been overwhelming to many victims of rape and abuse. The Child Abuse Services Team, or CAST, is a collective program of specially trained individuals representing the District Attorney's Office, Child Support Welfare Services, the DA Victim Witness Program, law enforcement, county mental health services, the North Coast Rape Crisis Team, Children and Adults Learning to Mend, and tribal agencies.
CAST is, the people that work in CAST deal with really one of the most terrible crimes you can commit. And I'm sorry, I certainly understand the value of human life and the loss of human life and the tragedy associated with that. But to commit this sort of offenses on children and take away not only their childhood, but their adulthood. And it's not that they can't and don't live full adult lives. It's never erased, and it affects a large part of their adult life, their intimacy in the future. And that's what binds us together as couples. And terrible harms. And it's a terrible subject for people that work with CAST to deal with. And yet they do it day in and day out because of our commitment to bringing an end to this sort of conduct and making this community safer for our children and for everyone.
The purpose of CAST is to reduce the number of interviews a child victim must undergo to better coordinate and respond to child abuse allegations. Some of the CAST team talked about the work they do at a recent open house.
When law enforcement is investigating a case that they need a specially trained forensic interviewer for, they will call our office and I will set up the CAST interview and I coordinate the whole team together.
I'm the advocate assigned to CAST. I've worked for the District Attorney Victim Witness for 9 years, and for those 9 years I've been assigned to the CAST office. So when a CAST is scheduled, I come down and meet with the team. We do the briefing so we all know on the same page, we know what the case is. After the briefing, when the interview starts, I meet with the parents whoever brought the child. I will meet with them. I offer them support. I explain the CAST process to them, answer any questions that they have. I try to find out where they are as far as their needs and hook them up with community services.
I am a child forensic interviewer, and that means that I and my coworker, we interview children that have been referred to our office by law enforcement. And what we do is we talk with the children in a child-friendly environment, because originally perhaps a social worker would get some information and then they would call law enforcement because it's a crime, and then a police officer might investigate, and then a detective might investigate. And so the child would end up having to tell their story 3, 4, 5 times to different people, and they get tired of having to say that story, or they're reluctant, they don't want to talk anymore. So by having a CAC with the video recording, they can come into an environment that is friendlier, non-threatening, and have a non-uniformed worker person be able to interview them and help them to be able to talk and tell their story.
The district attorney is the director, which means I'm responsible for the daily operations and the running of the program. And what happens is we staff it with an investigator, an attorney, clerical staff member, and that's Kelly Neals, the attorney currently assigned. Jack Bernstein is the investigator currently assigned, and Melinda Lewis is our clerical support staff person. We also have trained for doing the prosecutions in CAST myself and Maggie Fleming and Stacy Eads. She does some juvenile cases involving CAST.
Once the child is interviewed, then law enforcement, myself, the DA investigator, we sort of sit around the table and talk about what other investigation follow-up should we do. Do we think a crime has been committed, and if we do, what other follow-up needs to be done? And so we sort of develop a laundry list of things that need to happen to make the case as strong as we can.
If a case becomes a criminal case, then my job is to work with that family from beginning and ending of the process. I'm like their go-between person between the district, them and the district attorney's office.
Every interview, every child that comes in has gotten to have a voice, have gotten to be listened to, and it's not all about prosecution, but every child that comes, their parent or their guardian is offered a victim witness claim, which helps them to get some counseling around whatever issue that brought them in.
I think just as a community and as a nation, we're much more vocal about what's happening. We're much more willing for children to come in and talk. And I think people are much more aware of the exposure that they face. And so I think knowing that law enforcement and prosecution takes those cases seriously, I like to believe that acts as a deterrent model.
Now, CAST is a wonderful resource and a very successful program that we are hoping to use as a paradigm, if you will, for other programs. We have tried to use CAST, and I would say somewhat successfully, with dependent adult interviews, and we hope to do that more. We also hope to use the CAST-like model in the future for domestic violence type offenses or drug-endangered children.
You know, I feel honored to be able to have gone to the training and to be able to provide the interviews and the Spanish-speaking interviews that helped open a section of people that we weren't able to reach before.
I think that I helped them just be able to go through that process, knowing that there's someone who's going to guide them through it, stand beside them, support them.
I feel really privileged to be able to do what I do every day. I'm one of the lucky people that I look forward to going to work, and not everybody gets to have that experience. And there are days I beat my head against the wall and wish I could do more, but there are days where where everything hits on all cylinders, and that works out great.